Nick is here. He graduated a couple years ago from IC. He is now working at the Inception company, doing a bunch of stuff that he can talk about. And they have recently transitioned to Airtable, which a lot of other businesses are. And Nick will say what they are, but I think it's like Netflix and things like that. So it's used in entertainment and outside. So he's going to show you a lot of different ways he's figured out how to use it. And then there's going to be a lot of time to open it up to see how maybe you use spreadsheets or calendars and trying to figure out your life, and how Nick can help you with Airtable. Your turn, Nick.
How I can try to help you with Airtable.
You can only lead a horse to water.
Yeah, right. No, I'm kidding.
So please feel free, everyone, to just put your mic on and ask questions throughout.
Yeah, don't feel bad interrupting me. I do it to a lot of people, so it's only fair.
Speaking of, thanks, Tanner, for that link in the chat.
Okay.
All right, done with the interruption, sorry.
All right. Okay, so Airtable. I know a couple people know about it. It's not like, if you know someone who uses Airtable, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's rare, but it's like it's starting to get more used in like production posts. I know like Jack can talk about A&E uses it. I know Vice uses it. I believe Netflix uses a version of it, but I think they do it for social. But the stripped down version, it's a database entry software that has so much flexibility to it that it becomes this really powerful tool to like track things in general. And that's the best way I can say it, because it can be really almost anything you want. And like Google Sheets, it's real-time collaborative, so multiple people can be working in it at the same time. You can all see changes on stuff that's happening, but has a little more depth to it than something like Excel or Google Sheets. Now let's open it up. Where is it? Here we go. Here is Airtable. I am going to show a VFX shot tracker that I conjured up as an example using some stuff that Shayna and myself and Eric and I don't know who else, and Jack worked on Banana Split? No, I don't know. Did a movie in 2018, and we're going to use just like numbers just to have content. First things first, it's really overwhelming. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of stuff, right? But the basic thing to understand that took me a while to understand is Airtable is a way to assign essentially metadata to an object, to an item, to a record. That's the general term for it. So for example, we're going to talk about this shot. This is a specific shot in this film, and it has things in it. You see here that I've kind of made, it looks like an Excel sheet, right? Like you've got your columns, you've got your rows, you've got data, all that stuff. This record lives as an object itself, meaning if I open it up, this is just its thing. All of this data is attached, right? And I'll show you why that is interesting. Any questions?
It's just getting exciting, man.
Yeah, I know. Everyone prepare for a riveting conversation. Okay, so why is that cool? That is cool because this object can then move to other tables or records or things so that you can track it and sort it in a way you want to see it or anyone else wants to see it. For example, I've put all these shots in here and I've assigned all this data to it. Now I notice like this isn't really organized. I've got like waiting on notes here. I've got in progress over here and up here. It's kind of nasty. If you duplicate this view, which I have done, the whole thing, and do some work to it, you can have a more neatly organized version of, excuse me, all your records here. So now I know these are all the in progress stuff. And how did I do that? I just copied it, and then I used filtering to say whatever's in progress here of this piece of metadata. So this, its status, show me that. And so now I've got stuff like this. I've used Kirby as an example because it was hard to get the thumbnails from the actual sheet that this was based off of, but you get the gist. So it's helpful for something like that. The other thing it's really helpful for is if you have multiple team members, you can sort this by what you have to do as long as you attach. So like if I made a new shot, so let's say it's banana 345, which I don't think there are that many scenes in that movie. And let's call it the first shot. So now it has nothing else attached to it. I can edit it in this kind of like grid view if you want. You can also like open it up and then add all your stuff here. So let's say that Shayna is assigned this shot. We're going to add Shayna to it. Now, if I was going to be like, okay, Shayna, I'm going to give you a view so you know exactly what you have to do. Duplicate this. I'm just going to move it down because of organization. I'm going to rename it Shayna. Then filter where the team is exactly Shayna. Now, great. There's the thing I just added. Doesn't have any data in it because I didn't put any in, but now we know Shayna has to do this. And here's where some logic comes in. This only shows exactly where Shayna is assigned something, but there are shots that both Shayna and I are working on together. Now, she's not going to see that in here. So what you can do, something like this, has any of Shayna. So now stuff that has both is in here. I know, super interesting, but really helpful when you're like working on multiple projects. It doesn't even have to be a VFX tracker, but if each of these was like project A, project B, it's really helpful to be like, what am I working on? What do I have to do? What's all the information about it? Another good part, I've made like records of the people working on shots. For example, Shayna. Now we can see that Shayna is like active. This is her email, this is her phone number. These are all the shots Shayna's working on, right? But Nick, where is that? Where did you make that record? Well, I made it in a different tab. And here's all the team members with all their info. And you can see a list of specifically what shots they're working on, right? And if I was to be like, all right, Brad, let's see where you're at on 7410. Well, we know it's this shot. We know we need this stuff done. And this is irrelevant, but if it was like, Brad did not finish this shot, a million exclamation points. Now he's in trouble. Of course, Brad would finish his shots on time, but
I try.
but for example, that's something you could do here. So basically, it makes finding information about a specific thing much, much easier and much more customizable to what you want. Any questions?
Quick question, Nick.
Yeah.
Was this originally set up as a project management, project tracking tool? Do you have some insight into that? If this is like its intended purpose, or if this is like a skin for what you're doing, I guess is what I'm asking.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's a good point. From what I believe and what I've read, is Airtable was designed, as like a way to track productivity, or like, or sorry, not track, but help you manage your productivity. Tracking sounds kind of like overlord stuff.
Yeah.
By making items that you can then like add stuff to. This is basically its intended use.
Mm-hmm.
But you can customize so much within that. That's intended expected use.
Yeah.
Um,
I can
yeah.
imagine just by having editable metadata like this, it makes it far more useful and flexible than something like a series of spreadsheets.
Super, super easy.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's live and you can have your own views is crazy.
Very cool.
Okay. And let's say like I want to add like, you know what? I didn't say like what color, or not what color. I'm trying to think what's a metadata I don't have in here. Let's say I want to know the proxy size of all these files. Now I know what the frame size is, what the final will be, but I don't have proxy size and I really want to know that. You can add a field and be like, what's the proxy size? Name it proxy size. And I'll make it single line text. You'll see here, there's a lot of like things you can make your field. For this purpose, we're just going to do single line text. We're going to create it. Now we know that our proxies, whatever it's going to be, is going to be 1280 by 720, which is kind of large for proxies, but keep it like that. And then I will copy it all the way down to every shot. Great. Done. Now I've done this in the main version. If I go back to Shayna's, you'll notice it's not there. Well, it's not there because it's hidden because it's new. And voila. There's your proxy size.
That's controllable by the admin of the page, or how does that work as far as permissions are concerned and like in viewing, certain fields?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It can be controlled on an admin level. Where I work, we don't really do that, except for our main one, where only 2 people kind of have the ability to hide stuff. They don't hide anything on the main one because it's all the data. What you can do is make your own personal view inside of a, like, I'm trying to give an example. So if I want a personal view of everything, let's duplicate it. This can be, I lied, hold on, 1 second. Make a grid. I'm gonna make it a personal view. No one else can see this and it's not gonna edit any of their data. Create new item. Great. No one else can touch this but me, and I can do whatever I want with these. So if I was like, I don't want any of this stuff, and that's all mine, and no one can mess with that except you as the account holder. I think that answered your question, Brad.
So if you make up your own personal view, will the changes from the main one transfer into your personal one or no?
That is a great question, and I'll show you. So let's make a new grid. Let's call it Nick's personal. And let's pick a shot. So 1810. Let's go back to the main one, and let's say like, oh, actually the work on this isn't this. It's draw an apple on the frame. Right? Now I've made that change. If I go to my personal, if it loads, it's updated.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
really, really helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm gonna delete that. Another useful thing is if you're working with clients, what you can do is you can share views externally that are view only. So for example, I have this and I've hidden certain fields I don't want them to see. I don't want my client to find out who exactly is working on the shot or their contact information, because that would be crazy. So I've hidden that from them. And then what you can do is export it out some way, share. Via shareable link, they can copy out. Great. And I'm gonna copy this. Let's just preview it. You guys see any of that? Probably not.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
gonna,
there's just a slight delay on it.
yeah, I'm gonna stop share and reshare of my Chrome extension. Okay, here we go. So now you've got my view only, it should be view only view that my client's going to look at and be like, okay, well, they gave us this then. We know the status of it, and we know what it looks like. We know when it's due. We know all of our notes we've given on it, so on and so forth. It's helpful in managing client like communication and stuff like that. You can also, what we've done in the past is include a field that has links to like your specific shots, and then they know where the URLs are and it's live updating. So if we go, hey, like we uploaded a new cut, take a peek at the Airtable, you'll find it on the project you want. There you go. We're gonna go back to this. Perfect. And with stuff like status, you might be wondering how I got like all of these different kind of tags. What you can do is you can customize it to exactly what you want. Now, something that's behind the like pro version is more colors, which is kind of annoying. For the free version, you get like pastels, which if you're colorblind is really, 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 really frustrating. Because the blues and the reds look exactly the same. I couldn't tell you if these were different. But you can customize all that. Now I'm on a free trial of the thing, so I can change the colors, but y'all won't have that option.
Also, Nick, there are a couple questions in the chat.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I haven't been looking at it.
All good.
I'm reading now.
Sure.
Question from Nate about, does it have notification abilities? It does, and it even has integration with Slack, which is super, super helpful. When anything changes, you can code it basically to be what you want. So if I say like, oh, I have a new record, or let's, for example, I'm doing a project and I'm like, okay, I got a new shot in, Shayna is going to be the one to do it. I'll add her name to a record. I'll add her name to a record and I can have it automate to send her a Slack message. I don't know about text. I don't know about SMS messaging. It might be a pro feature. But definitely Slack, definitely email. So it has ways to inform you. Export reports from Tanner. Kind of. I don't know how to, kind of. You can make a field, basically. Don't save. You can make a field or a view of what you want to see and then export out that kind of viewable link that I showed you. And that's the best way to do it without getting into like visualization tools of like charts and stuff. That's a topic for another meeting because that takes a lot, but that's the quickest way to do it. Another thing you can do with Airtable is if you have clients that are giving you things and giving you assets and stuff like that, you can create a form that they can fill out and it will make a record for you and put all the information that they gave you into a record, which is really helpful. Which brings me to the attachments feature, which I think is the best one. You see here I have thumbnail and LUT. Now I've named those what I want, so it doesn't necessarily define the content in it, but here for the LUT, I have a .cube file that's going to apply to every shot. So if some visual effects artist was like, I don't have the LUT, I don't know where it is, hey, go on Airtable, you can download it straight from here. Right? And then we know exactly where it is and it lives there. I think it uses Box as a file hosting service behind the scenes. I don't think you can change that. I don't think it can go into Dropbox. Don't hold me to that. And the other thing is it's not restricted to literally anything. So let's say I want to watch the trailer for Kirby Superstar Ultra, right, in my attachments. We got a video, right? Super helpful. And you can comment on it. I didn't know that. That's cool. Time-coded notes. Don't know where those live. Oh, over here. Perfect. See, I'm still learning about this program. And yeah, same goes for like MP3s and, you know, whatever you want to put in there that's media. What we do a lot is put, like if we're doing finance tracking, we put a lot of receipts in there, and it's really easy to know exactly, like reference the picture specifically. And there's a couple other like view configurations you can do that are really helpful. I like seeing the grid because I can group stuff. I'll show you what I mean. This is a more organized version of the main grid, but I've grouped it by the in progress, on hold, whatever. I can group it by really whatever I want. So if I was like, you know, I don't want to see status. I want to see like who's working on it, right? Now I know Brad is working on these 2 shots. I know Eric is working on this shot. I know Eric and Shayna together are working on this shot. So it's a really, really helpful way to like organize your data pretty quickly. And that's one of the things I love about Airtable. And again, all these you can just like pop into and see all the data. You can show 11 fields down here. But that's not going to show up on your grid here because I've hidden it in this menu.
Dupree has a question in the chat
Oh,
about
yeah.
recovery process, undo, change tracking.
Yeah, that's a great question. Command Z, Command Shift Z, or Control if you're a Windows person, all works in here. So if I was like, uh-oh, deleted the name of this one, it's still here. It's still a record, and it still exists. You'd probably have to find other things about it. Like you'd have to use the thumbnail to figure out which one it was, but you can just rename it to whatever. But I can just Control Z when I get out of here. And it's right back. And I don't know if that addresses the whole thing.
Yeah, can you see who changed what, like Google history?
You can, if you are the admin of the document, you can see who changed stuff. Because I don't have other people invited to this, it doesn't help. I don't know specifically how to get there, but it does have that tool. So
in each record, there is a history of all the changes to it. So if you go back to the one you just went to, it's on the right. If you open it up,
Jack has all the answers.
So there you go.
Right here. You made edits. Expand edits. I did all this before the meeting, but you guys get the gist.
Tanner asked if it's compatible with spreadsheets or other data organizing software.
That is a good question. I believe there is, I can't tell you for certain because I haven't tried to like cross utilize stuff. I think there is a way to use it with Google Sheets. But again, don't hold me to that.
I just noticed like the import button, so I'm like just curious if you can like import like an existing Excel document and transfer it to Airtable.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what this is for, you can do an Excel doc. Obviously, you have to change stuff. You're gonna have to change a lot. And yeah, look, you can do Google Sheets too, and Apple Numbers and Asana. If anyone knows that one, we used to use Asana.
Yeah.
Trello. I'd never heard of it. I've never tried anything but a CSV, so can't tell you how well it works, but it probably works fine. What also is helpful about import is you can import data from a different base. Now, importantly, all of this stuff, so including these two tabs, is all under one base. I'll go back and I'll show you guys what a base is momentarily. But I could pull from an entirely separate project data into this, and it will real-time sync with the data in the other one and this one. So if you make changes in the other one, it will automatically populate here. And there's a setting to make it automatically populate, and you should always have that on. You should never manually do it.
Can you talk about what kind of projects you use? Question from Emily. Like, besides video projects, like what would a company use this for?
Sure, that's a great point. And you know what? Let's just go into budget. So y'all are gonna see my bases here. So these are all bases. This is stuff I've worked on for work. Don't NDA. No one look. These are separate bases. So we're just gonna go into budget. I copied this budget from a previous project we worked on, and then I changed information so you can't steal my credit card number. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes here. Primarily, I am organizing all of our expenses for this in-person project that we worked on, categorizing them by like how much money we spent, how much money we gained back, and including like receipts and invoices. I'm trying to think of a good one. Here's a Turo receipt because we had to get a car for someone. Great. Boring, I know, but helpful if you're doing your own personal finance and you want to see stuff back. What I've done here, it's hard to like undo what I've kind of set out. But basically I make a record of the place where I am spending money. Then in the finance tracking, I make the name a function that concatenates that place I spent the money and the number of the invoice. And so then the name becomes an easy way to see where I spent the money and where I got the invoice. Then I put the amounts in and I do a roll up, which is a way to say I'm adding all the numbers together. Here's our estimate of what we thought we were going to spend money. Here's in data from all of that information I put in my finances, added up, sorted by, you get it, another record that has everything in it. So I know that catered meals in total has all of this stuff. And catered meals is just what I'm going to generically call stuff for my budget. And I know how much money I spent on catered meals. I know I spent just about the exact amount that we thought. And I have a variance thing to be like, we spent over, we spent under. And here at the bottom, you can see like a summary. Like we estimated the budget was 64,000. We ended up spending only 36. So it's pretty good. Also for this project, in the same base, we did a run of show. So we did basically a schedule of everything we were going to do throughout the day, hour by hour, and assigned people to those tasks. Also made a base, and this one's kind of lame, so don't judge me, of location. So everyone had the address to where stuff was going to be. And then if I, for example, go to run a show and I say, okay, where is that going to be? I can add like, oh, this one's going to be at headquarters. And then someone goes, okay, where's headquarters? And you would open it up and be like, oh, here's the... Anyway, I hope that answers that question. That's just one thing you could do with it. Finance is kind of nice to do in here. I haven't fully done all my personal stuff yet. I'm slowly doing it, but it's really useful.
There was also kind of a question of what's the difference between this and Shotgun / ShopGrid and FTrack.
Okay, great question. Shotgun and like programs are specifically designed for production and shot tracking mostly. The reason I like this more and the way it differs is there's so much more you can do in addition to doing shotgun like functions. I hope that answers the question. Like, you can't really do finance in shotgun.
The link to the templates that Jack just posted in chat give you an idea as to what you can use this for. Very cool.
And they have a lot of templates if you're just like so frazzled by this and you need something to like, you know, be a set thing before you actually get into it. They have a ton of templates, and they have a really good community template system where you can like grab stuff that people have made for their projects if they've made it public. So you can copy it, and you're not going to affect their data, but you have your own kind of structure to follow yourself. Yes, you can organize your entire life here. And I'll show you another use that was more fun for me and Jack. When I was moving last year, I was like, I need to figure out who I've reached out to, the address of the place, where I found it, and just metadata about it to figure out like, okay, I can look at this place. This is in this area, whatever. So I made an Airtable. And I've made the name, the address of the place is going to be. I did a column of like how much it would cost per month, bedrooms, bathrooms, yada, yada, URL. Also tagged a bunch of stuff of like, is there an outdoor space? Do I have a dishwasher? Yes or no? Whatever. Good thing about that is I can then be like, show me only my 4 bedrooms that I've looked at and liked. And here you go. Show me only the ones in Crown Heights. Where neighborhood has any of really Crown Heights. Great. Done. Now I can go reach out to all these people. I can bother all these real estate agents now. And it's funny because in doing so, I realize how many people on StreetEasy are exactly the same with like 5 different phone numbers. And you call every single one. Another useful view is thumbnail. So we uploaded, when we could, pictures of like what it would look like. So at a quick glance, you can kind of see like the top line information. So like, okay, oh, this one looks nice outside. Where is it? Well, that's the address. There's the neighborhood. I didn't reach out to these people. Here's how much it is. And you can quickly scroll through it and be like, I hate that. We looked at this place, only one picture. Any questions about like outside of production use of this?
I love the status tags where it's like, don't want anymore. Like, that's
Oh yeah, main, but we like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty robust. And then I had like the people and how my like our like kind of preferences at the time. No-nos, right? We tried to do like a calendar of when we were going touring, and then we also used it to like figure out like, okay, Jack's gonna bring dining chairs, but I'm gonna bring rocks. And there's a box of rocks.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Some might say there's too many. I say not enough.
Sabrina, how do you use it at work? Or what did they tell you?
Well, it was a long document that was full of words, and unfortunately, I did not read it. I just said I'll click some stuff and figure it out.
You couldn't have been the only one, Deprina, that didn't read it.
Yeah, but we use it to organize all of our productions that's like sold, unsold, post-production. Those that's in pre-pro, and those that are delivered, or already live or something like that. So it's like different category, just like he got different neighborhoods, ours has different, like it'll go through all the beauty stuff, and then it go through all the help stuff, and then it like separate it. It's very, very, I mean, we got like about 10 tabs at the top. So it's like the production process, the forms you need to fill out when you're on set, it's the production companies, and then it's very, very deep. But seeing it like this makes it seem like, I mean, really it is just like a Excel sheet, like super Excel, something like
Yeah.
that. So
Well, that's a good point too. Like, it's not restricted by what I've showed you. Like, as Deprina said, like production companies and stuff. I've used it as like an outreach tool to track who I've talked to if I'm trying to find a vendor to like shoot in Austin, Texas for me. And I put, you know, who I contacted last, the last email I had with them, their specific contact, whatever, if they have responded to me or not. That way everyone can be on the same page
right.
also of like Deprina doesn't have to reach out to Joe Schmo in Texas because I already did.
Exactly, right. And we even like, we also integrated into the Google Calendar somehow, some way. They sent the link and said, click it. And now every single day that a production is happening, no matter what department it is, it shows up on everybody's Google Calendar. So you know there's a production going on that day or when they're filming.
Yeah, that's a really good way to use it too. I haven't done that yet. I'm a little scared of what's going to happen to my calendar when I do
Right.
that.
So Nick, this is the free version that you're using at work, or
At work, we have the pro. I don't have a pro
gotcha.
account, but we have a pro base, which lets me access pro features inside of that base.
Okay, gotcha. What sort of drawbacks have you noticed beyond the pastel coloring on the open or free version versus the pro version?
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe it's limited to the amount of accounts you can add to a base. I think it tops out at 5 or 6 people. Jack is telling me 5. So I could add Chaina, I could add Brad, I could add Jack, I could add Tanner, but I wouldn't have room for Deprina. Right.
Gotcha.
So that's the bad thing about the free.
Yeah, just a note on that. Those are the creators or the editors.
Yes.
You could share it with as many people as you want for viewing, but
Yeah.
only that many for changing the base.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Talk about the video.
There are also limitations on automation and the number of entries you could create in a free table.
Yeah, that's true. There is API.
Yeah, and
you can
extension.
add.
And the types of tables. Like you could see it in the bottom left, the
See
timelines
that
and that
little
sort of
pro
stuff.
button. Gantt. Gantt is very helpful. Clients love Gantt. It's like a
Businesses love Gantt.
businesses love Gantt. It's like a timeline, and so if you have a date range for your stuff, it'll say like, this is happening from this to this, and then this one's overlapping with this one, and then this one's coming up next. Yada, yada, yada. Good for projects where you have multiple stages, and you can be like, our pre-production is happening for 4 weeks here, then our production is happening for 2, and then our post is 8, whatever. Very, very helpful in that regard. Any other questions?
You were gonna mention about how video playback is not good.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I told you that last time, they updated their system and it's a little better now. So, there's still there's no volume control on stuff. So for example, let's go back to, I put that Kirby video in here. I knew it was going to be helpful. Like, it's going to be so loud. I hope I'm not sharing sound. I'm not. Good. You're all spared. I'm going to have to turn this down for because you're going to hear it through my mic. All right. And it's interesting. I think they just added this like time-coded notes. I was like, oh man, I like this. This is good. I can't type. Enter. So now it's like, okay, at this time, I left this note on this thing. A little wonky to get to because it's an attachment, and then it's opening the attachment, and then looking at the comment section in the attachment. I don't love it. but it's better than it was before.
I think that's just box functionality.
Oh, you think it's box functionality?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's,
Which explains why it's bad.
yes.
Dropbox is a superior box.
Does it do like web video embedding or anything? Can you do embedded content in these fields?
That's a great question. From what I understand, the attachments are like actual files. I don't think
Yeah.
there's a limit on the size, but maybe try not to put like a 200 gigabyte thing in here.
There's an account limit for how
There
much you
is
can
an
upload.
account. Thank you, Jack.
If you paid account, you have more space.
Yeah. Is there a way to web embed? I don't know. Final answer, I don't know. One thing I was looking into when I was doing this housing research was to try to get these addresses on a Google map. So I could be like, these are next to each other, right? Because I can say that this place in Crown Heights is in Crown Heights with this place, but actually it's like a 2-mile walk away. A mile walk away. Which if I'm going on one side of town of the area and then going back and forth would have been annoying. So I tried to get Google Maps in there and drop pins at all these locations. That is a pro feature, and I do not pay for pro.
So does the development seem pretty responsive and active? Like changes are suggested, it's kind of being updated frequently.
Yeah, I mean, they really exploded in popularity during the pandemic. Not so much with production, which it's starting to get up and running with, but more so for like remote tracking of work or like remote working together on projects and stuff. So they've been pretty on top of it. If you had seen Airtable when I started it in 2020, it was a little more janky. They didn't have a lot of features in general. And they're pretty good at sharing updates about what they like change.
Yeah.
Usually through emails.
Cool.
Now, is there anything anyone wants me to like do in Airtable right now? Because I can try to do it in 13 minutes.
You play Doom in it? I saw a guy at Doom running a notepad. It was amazing. It was all ASCII.
I'm sure there's a way. I can't do that now.
But it seems really flexible, especially with the pro, like API expandability with the Pro version. Seems pretty flexible.
Do you know anything about security? Like when you upload everything to Google, it's owned by Google.
I don't know any specific details about it. I know they released something where they were like, because they got so much larger, I think they updated their security protocol for Box in particular if you're uploading files. I'd have to check on like if it's compliant with like NDA stuff for Netflix, whatever other companies require a level of security. So short answer, need to read more.
A&E uses it, so that's a big deal.
Okay, so it's probably okay.
So it was like, that was part of their research. Not that I know any of the specifics, but I knew that sort of thing came up.
Can you import a spreadsheet that you made somewhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and Tanner had kind of asked this, if I like want to do an Excel spreadsheet here, you can grab that in Google Sheets. I really don't know how any of these work except CSV because I haven't used them myself. You probably have to play around with a couple things, but you can.
You could also download from here as a CSV.
Yes, very important. And as an Excel file too?
Not that I know of. I think it is.
Don't.
But like you could just open a CSV file in Excel and it will open.
Yeah.
If you click on the table itself, not in the views, but
Oh, I see.
not there. The one with the name and the grid view.
This one.
No. Well, but next to views, between views. And
Oh, this.
No,
No,
between views and then there, that one.
this one.
Yeah,
Great.
there. You can also print it.
Helpful for budgets.
Yes, or like call sheets.
Yeah, run of shows. I haven't tried to make a call sheet with it yet. That's a
It's pretty useful.
yeah, that's a good point. I should try that. Bye, Tanner. I know that was 2 minutes ago.
Don't worry, I said bye.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never been so excited to get into like spreadsheets before in my life. It's pretty
I
cool.
tried to make it kind of exciting. It can get more and more involved the more you learn about it. Like, for obvious reasons, I can't show you my like production one, but it's pretty robust of like how many tags we have and how we're sorting it. I can tell you it's really helpful for like archival and knowing like this project is on this drive and that drive is in this location and that was last updated on this day by this person, and here's the link that has the project you're working on that's in that drive on the thing. You know what I mean? It can just it snowballs into something that just gets more and more useful.
With this, you can, since it's metadata rich, you can tease all that out through descriptors and filtering. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super helpful. I keep saying that, but how do I not get overwhelmed by all this? Well, I was for like 4 months when I was using it for work. And then I just kind of like made my own table and like saw what breaks and what doesn't break. Helpful to like work with people who know how to do it. I did a lot of in the beginning. I was like, hey, you're going to make this thing and I'm going to be on Zoom silently watching you make it and understanding how you're doing it. It can be the other thing is like to make it not overwhelming, the ability to make your own views and filter out the information you don't want to see is really helpful to getting to know how it works. So like, for example, if I'm like, I don't care about any of this, I'm just going to look at the stuff I have to do. I don't care about the version sent. I don't care about the plate name, which is bad, but I don't care about the plate name. Don't care about the client notes. Client's wrong. I don't need the LUT. I don't need the final version. And then it's much more digestible.
I mean, it's simple, and for just a personal project, just as simple as like shot tracking length of shots for an animated project, assets in each shot. I mean, I can see how this could be useful just for a small scale project. And it seems like you learn a lot that way too.
Yeah.
By just jumping in. Yeah, exactly.
I should always care, Nick. Eric, I don't know.
Just say it. Just say it.
So yeah, I think animation is where this could also, like as you said, Brad, like really shine, as in like this person's doing this part. Here's the status of that part. And here's how long it is, and whatever.
And just as like an interactive calendar too, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, you didn't touch it on so much, but the automation allows for like when specific triggers happen, you could send emails or Slack messages or update Google Docs or do tweets if you want to be one of those Twitter accounts, those automated Twitter accounts. You could do that from here.
You could make Hootsuite in this if you really felt like it. Please don't. But you could.
So if your company has like a newsletter, you could schedule it from something like this.
At Shayna for Park Post newsletters.
Yeah, I was going to say we should talk about that because I fighting with IT and they finally said, well, you can whitelist it yourself, but everybody else would consider it spam, so we can't do anything. I'm like, cool, thanks so much.
That's really helpful.
So I've just been myself re-forwarding out to a list, so I'm circumventing it, but yeah, got to figure out another solution.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, does it do mass emails, newsletters itself?
I haven't done it.
I think so.
There's
You
definitely
have
a
to hook it up
way.
with your Google account because I think it might do Gmail and Outbox or whatever it's called, Outlook.
Yeah.
And then you might be able to link that to like an email registry that you might have for a newsletter or something like that. I think. I haven't done it myself, but theoretically it should work.
Mm-hmm.
Go look into it.
Any more questions before I stop?
So, in your current role, I mean, is this something you're doing like day in, day out, or is this kind of like just, you know, like, do you spend a lot of your day in Airtable?
Yes. It really depends. It depends on the day, but more often than not, it's really helpful as like a checklist of like, I have to address this, I have to address this, and I have to address this, right? Or being like, okay, I have to like help someone else at where is the status of this thing? That's basically what I use for it. I could spend my entire day in our Airtable for weeks and make progress with like archival and stuff if I really felt like it. I'm not going to do that, but I could. And I will also note that there are jobs specifically for database entry that are based in Airtable. Now, it might not be with production, it might be with like finance or whatever real estate company, but you can make them pretty good remote money just being the one to manage their Airtable database. And this is just a fantastic way to like go about it quickly without a whole lot of hassle.
Yeah. Build up those competencies.
Yeah. It's just another skill you can put on your resume as well.
Very cool.
Cool. I think we made it to time.
Woo!
Yeah.
Before we go, look at his Kirby costume. There's a person in there.
Oh man, my kid did last Halloween one of those inflatable Pikachu
Oh, yeah.
costumes. And yeah, he was a trooper, but I don't think that's going to be happening again.
Cool. Well, thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
This was super exciting.
I know.
Yeah, really.
Thrilling. Everyone is so happy to have spent an hour talking about database entry.
But Nick is available on Slack if you need any help with Airtable.